My mom chose you. Please be my dad, human. The alien boy whispered. Elias Ward had never thought he would be walking through a refugee hall on a station, orbiting a fractured planet in the outer sectors of the galaxy. The metallic walls hummed with energy, and the smell of recycled air mixed with the scent of alien spices and machinery oils. It was loud, crowded, and chaotic. Families of different species, some with skin that shimmered with faint light, others with elongated limbs and heads, milled through the corridors. Each face carried the weight of loss, survival, and a faint hope for a better tomorrow. Elias had volunteered to repair life support systems in this part of the station, a job no one else seemed willing to do because of the constant risk of failing air systems or electrical overloads. He moved from terminal to terminal, checking valves, rerouting energy lines, and tightening loose panels. It was routine work for him, but he could not ignore the sadness around him. Every so often, he would see a small hand holding tightly to an adult's arm, or hear a soft whimper from a corner where no one was looking. Elias understood their fear, not from experience, but from instinct. Humans were known for facing difficult choices, and he had always believed in doing the right thing even if no one noticed. As he tightened a valve near a dimly lit corridor, he heard a faint rustle. He paused, listening. The sound was small, almost like a whisper against the cold metal floor. "Hello," he called gently, not wanting to scare anyone. No response. He crouched down and saw a small figure, hunched and trembling under a bench. The figure was small even for a child, with pale bluish skin and large eyes that reflected the dim station lights. The child's shoulders shook and his breathing was shallow. Elias recognized fear and exhaustion instantly. "Hey there," he said softly. "Are you lost?" The child flinched, shrinking further. Elias slowly extended his hand, careful not to make sudden movements. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "I just want to help." The child hesitated, then took a small step forward. His voice was barely a whisper. My mom," he trailed off, his eyes searching. Elias' heart clenched. He had worked with refugees before, but this was different. This child seemed alone. "Where's your mom? Are you looking for her?" The boy shook his head. Tears formed in his large, dark eyes. He whispered words that froze Elias in place. "My mom chose you. Please be my dad, human." Elias blinked, trying to understand what the child had said. The words hung in the air, fragile and impossible. He had no idea who this boy was, why he had said these words, or what they meant. Yet there was an urgent sincerity in the tone, an emotion that demanded trust. Before he could respond, the alarm system on the station blared, red lights flashing across the corridors. Security drones whirred to life, moving quickly down the hallways. Elias realized immediately that someone was searching for the child, probably to take him away. He looked down at the boy. "We need to move now," he said, lifting him gently into his arms. The boy did not resist, simply curling against him, trusting him in a way that surprised Elias. He had always known humans could form bonds, but he had never been chosen in such a profound way. The hallways twisted like a maze. Elias knew the station layout from memory, but every corridor was crowded with frightened aliens, drones, and the occasional human volunteer. He moved with care, balancing the child in his arms while ducking behind panels and pressing himself against the walls. The boy remained quiet, his breathing gradually slowing as he sensed Elias' calm presence. "Who are you?" Elias asked softly, trying to keep the child calm. "Taryn," the boy whispered. I need to stay with you. Mama said." His words faltered. Elias held him tighter, feeling a strange warmth in his chest. He did not know how to respond, but he understood the meaning without words. The child had chosen him. Not because of law, not because of duty, but because someone who had cared deeply had trusted him to be more than a stranger. The alarms grew louder. Drones rounded the next corner, their sensors scanning for movement. Elias pressed himself and the boy into a shadowed alcove, holding his breath as the machines passed. The boy's small hand clutched at Elias' jacket. "It's okay," Elias whispered. "We'll get through this." They moved carefully, stopping only when they reached a maintenance shaft. Elias pulled a ladder down and began the slow descent. The boy's small fingers wrapped around his arm, and for the first time, Elias felt a responsibility heavier than any machine he had ever repaired. By the time they reached the lower levels, Elias knew they could not return to the main hall. Someone would be searching for them. He needed a place to hide, to think, and to understand the truth of what this child had said. They entered a small storage room. It smelled of metal, oil, and old rations. Elias set Taran down gently. The boy sat on the floor, looking up at him with wide, serious eyes. "Why me?" Elias asked softly. "Why would your mom choose me?" Taran's eyes glistened with unshed tears. She said humans. Humans can care without expecting anything in return. That you would protect me. That you would not let me be alone. Elias felt a lump in his throat. He had spent his life repairing systems, helping people survive disasters, but no one had ever trusted him like this. No one had ever believed in him before. The weight of it pressed on him, but it was not a burden. Rather, it was a purpose, sudden and undeniable. "I don't know if I'm the right person," he said quietly. "I don't even know what to do." Taran tilted his head, looking at him with a child's clarity. "Mama said you would know what to do when it mattered. Please." Before Elias could respond, the door hissed and shook. Security was close. He pressed his hand over Taran's mouth. "SHH, don't make a sound," he whispered. The drones passed by the storage room without detecting them. Elias held his breath until the hum of machinery and movement faded into the distance. Only then did he release Taran's hand. The boy leaned against him, exhausted but trusting. Elias realized then that this was no ordinary refugee situation. Taran's choice was not just emotional, it was a matter of survival. The boy's species had a unique bond mechanism, one that required a chosen guardian. Without him, Taran could not survive. He looked at the boy again, small, pale, and fragile. "All right," Elias said, his voice firm but gentle. "I don't know what this will mean, but I will stay with you. We will figure this out together." Taran's eyes lit up for the first time since they had met. "Really?" he whispered. "Really," Elias said. "I'll do my best. That's all anyone can do." The boy nodded, curling against him for warmth. In that moment, Elias felt a strange clarity. The refugee station, the drones, the alarms, all of it faded into the background. What mattered was the life in his arms, the trust he had been given, and the choice he had made. He knew it would not be easy. Galactic laws, alien authorities, and cultural prejudices would stand against him. The idea of a human chosen as a guardian for an alien child was unprecedented. But for the first time in a long time, Elias did not feel fear. He felt determination. Together they began to plan. They would need a place to hide, a route off the station, and allies who would not betray them. Elias knew the path ahead would be dangerous. But as he looked down at Taran, sleeping lightly against his chest, he felt something humans rarely understood fully: the quiet power of being chosen, of being trusted, and of being loved without condition. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of family. Family was not always defined by blood. Sometimes, it was defined by choice, by courage, and by the willingness to show up when it mattered most. And in the heart of that refugee hall, amidst the hum of machines, the scent of alien spices, and the flickering lights, Elias Ward had chosen, without hesitation, to be the father this small alien boy needed. Elias carried Taran carefully through the lower maintenance corridors, avoiding the main hallways where security drones patrolled. Each step echoed softly against the metallic floor, and every shadow seemed like it could hide a threat. Taran clung to him quietly, small fingers wrapped around his jacket. The boy had barely spoken since the alarms, as if he understood the danger and knew silence was their best ally. Elias knew the station layout well, but even with his experience, every corner presented a new risk. Drones hovered above, scanning with red lights, and he could hear the faint whir of their engines. But Elias' mind was focused not just on escape, it was on understanding the child in his arms. "Why did your mom choose me?" he asked softly, careful not to alarm Taryn. The boy shifted slightly, his large eyes meeting Elias. "Mama said humans are different. You can care without wanting anything back. You will protect me." His words were quiet but full of certainty. Elias felt a weight in his chest. He had helped people before, repaired systems, pulled strangers from danger, but no one had ever trusted him like this. No one had made him feel responsible in the way Taryn did. It was sudden, overwhelming, but also clear. The boy's trust was not something to question. It was a call to action. They reached a storage bay far from the main corridors. Elias scanned the area and found a narrow ventilation shaft. It was dusty, cramped, and likely unused, but it offered a way to move through the station unseen. He knelt, opening the hatch. "Can you walk a little?" he asked. Taryn nodded, and Elias guided him carefully into the shaft. The metal was cold under their hands, and the boy shivered slightly. "Almost there," Elias whispered. "We just have to keep moving." As they crawled, Taryn spoke softly, almost to himself. "Mama, she saved everyone. She said I would need someone brave." His small voice trembled with both fear and hope. "She said, you are brave." Elias was silent for a moment, letting the boy's words sink in. He had never considered himself brave, not in the heroic sense. He had always acted out of necessity, doing what had to be done. But Taryn's words made him realize that bravery was not about strength or skill. It was about standing up when it mattered, even when everything was against you. When they finally emerged near the lower docking bays, the station's chaotic energy was replaced by the hum of starships and the distant chatter of alien pilots. Elias set Taryn down and looked around. They were not yet safe, but for the first time in hours he felt a flicker of hope. "Do you know where we can go?" Taryn asked. His voice was small, almost shy. Elias shook his head. "Not yet, but we'll find a place. Somewhere you'll be safe." They moved cautiously, keeping to shadows, until they reached an abandoned maintenance corridor. Here, the noise of the docking bays faded and Elias could think more clearly. He crouched beside Taryn, looking into the boy's wide, hopeful eyes. "We need to talk," Elias said. "I need to understand what your mom meant when she chose me." Taryn nodded slowly. "Mama, she said humans are different. You care in ways others don't. You protect, even when it's dangerous. She said I would be safe with you." Elias felt a lump in his throat. The boy's words were simple, but they carried more meaning than any formal explanation could. He realized then that this was not just a child in need. It was a bond, a connection that went beyond law or species. "We can't stay here," Elias said after a moment. "Security will find us eventually. We need to leave the station, find a place where no one can force you to leave." Taryn's small hands clenched. "I don't want to leave you. Mama said you would stay with me." Elias smiled gently. "I will. That's my choice. Just like your mom, was." They made their way through the lower corridors, moving cautiously but deliberately. Elias used every trick he knew to avoid detection, ducking behind panels, slipping through maintenance doors, and timing their movements between drone patrols. Taryn remained quiet, trusting Elias completely, and that trust gave him strength. As they reached a less crowded area, Taryn began to explain more about his species. We bond with people who choose us. It's how we survive. Without a chosen guardian, a child fades, weakens. Mama said I would not survive if I had no one." Elias listened, feeling the enormity of the responsibility. This was not just about sheltering a child, it was about life and survival. He had heard of species with strange biological needs, but he had never imagined a bond that was so critical. The weight of Terran's life rested in his hands, and the reality of it sank deep into him. They found a small, unused room near the station's service docks. Elias barricaded the door with spare panels and crates, creating a temporary safe space. He sat down, pulling Terran close. The boy leaned against him, exhausted but alert. "I need to understand everything," Elias said. "Your mom, she left you here for a reason, and I need to know it all if I'm going to help you survive." Terran nodded. "Mama, she said humans have hearts that don't give up. You fight for what is right, even when others don't. She said you would know what to do." Elias' mind raced. Galactic law did not allow a human to claim guardianship over an alien child, especially one from Terran species. The authorities would demand the boy be handed over to a government facility. But Elias could not imagine doing that. He could not imagine leaving Terran to fade alone. The hours passed slowly. Elias planned their next moves carefully. He would need allies, information, and a way to challenge the station's laws if necessary. But most importantly, he had to keep Terran alive and calm. The boy's small hand rested on his arm, and that simple touch carried more meaning than any words could. Later, when the station's lights dimmed for the night cycle, Elias taught Terran a small breathing exercise to calm his nerves. "In and out," he said softly. Terran mirrored him, taking shallow, careful breaths. The boy's breathing grew steadier and a faint smile appeared on his face. "You're really going to stay?" Terran asked, looking up at him with hope and disbelief. "Yes," Elias said firmly. "I will stay, no matter what happens." Terran's eyes shone with gratitude. "Mama said you would." Elias realized the truth in the boy's words. This choice, his choice, was about more than survival. It was about proving that humans could care beyond rules, beyond species, and beyond fear. In a galaxy that often measured strength in weapons and influence, Elias' strength was in his willingness to stand for a child who had chosen him. The next day, Elias moved them to a more secure location, an abandoned storage bay near the outer hull of the station. From here, they could monitor the movement of drones, track patrol schedules, and plan an escape if necessary. Elias spent hours teaching Terran to recognize safe paths, hide in shadows, and listen for approaching danger. The boy absorbed every lesson, his determination clear despite his small size. During a rare quiet moment, Terran asked about his mother. What did she look like?" Elias smiled softly. "She must have been brave, that's clear, and kind." "And she made a choice that saved your life," Terran nodded. She always said humans are strong in ways others don't see. Mama, she knew you would help me." Elias felt a quiet pride mixed with a deep responsibility. He was not a hero, but he had been chosen. And now he had to live up to that trust. As days passed, the pair established a routine. Elias would fix broken systems, gather supplies, and monitor security patrols, while Terran learned, watched, and occasionally asked questions about humans and their ways. They shared quiet moments too, stories of home worlds, simple games in the empty corridors, and small jokes that made the long hours bearable. Through it all, the bond between them deepened. It was not just guardian and child, it was family. Terran's choice had created a connection that transcended species, law, and expectation. And Elias, for the first time in his life, understood that family was about presence, care, and courage. By the end of the week, Elias realized the next step was unavoidable. They could not hide forever. Galactic authorities would eventually discover them, and the tribunal would need to be confronted. He had to prepare to defend Terran, defend their bond, and in doing so, defend humanity itself. Terran curled against him one night, whispering softly, "Mama, she was right. You are brave." Elias smiled, feeling a strange warmth. He did not yet know the outcome, but he knew one truth: he would not abandon the boy. Not now, not ever. Whatever the galaxy demanded, he would stand, chosen and determined, for the child who had trusted him. The station remained quiet around them, But Elias knew the challenge ahead would be greater than any machine he had repaired or system he had maintained. He would face laws, cultures, and expectations, but the bond in this room, simple, powerful, unbroken, was proof that humans could rise to meet impossible responsibilities. And so, in the quiet hours of the station, a human engineer and a small alien boy prepared for the trials ahead. One choice, whispered in a hall filled with fear and chaos, had begun to change not only their lives but the way the galaxy might see humanity itself. Elias and Taryn stayed hidden in the abandoned storage bay for several days, carefully observing the station's routines. Each day, the human engineer grew more aware of how little time they truly had before authorities discovered them. Drones moved with predictable patterns, and station announcements sometimes reminded the inhabitants that law enforcement teams were actively searching for missing or endangered children. Taryn, despite his small size and youth, absorbed every lesson Elias taught him. He learned to read the faint hum of life support systems, recognize when air vents would carry sound, and sense the vibration of approaching footsteps. But more than survival skills, Elias noticed that Taryn's courage grew as well. The boy had faced loss and isolation, yet he carried a quiet determination that Elias had rarely seen in humans, and that he had never expected from an alien child. One evening, as the station's artificial sunset bathed the corridors in dim orange light, Elias sat beside Taryn, checking a small data terminal for structural schematics. "We need to think about the future," he said. "We can't hide here forever. Someone will find us." Taryn tilted his head. What will they do if they find me?" His voice trembled slightly. "They'll probably take you to a facility," Elias explained carefully. "It's legal. It's how your species usually handles children without guardians." "But I don't think it's right for you, not if your mom chose me." The boy's eyes widened. They will try to separate us." "Yes," Elias said softly, "but I won't let that happen. I promise you, Taryn." Taryn leaned against him, small hands clutching his arm. "Mama, she said humans protect. She said you would know what to do." Elias felt the full weight of responsibility settle over him. This was no longer just about hiding from drones or repairing life support systems. This was about standing against laws, cultures, and expectations that had existed for centuries. Yet he also understood something vital. The galaxy had underestimated humans. Humans could care, fight, and endure in ways that others often could not imagine. And now he would have to prove it. The following day, Elias began gathering evidence and preparing a plan. If the authorities discovered them, he would have to present a defense, not just for Taryn's safety, but for the legitimacy of the bond itself. He reviewed records of human history, noting times when humans had taken in orphaned children, animals, and even strangers. Humans had survived hostile worlds, raised families in danger, and demonstrated resilience and compassion beyond measure. If the galaxy had overlooked these qualities, it was now his responsibility to show them. Meanwhile, Taryn asked questions, trying to understand the humans' world. Do humans always care like this?" he asked one evening. Elias smiled softly. "Not always. But some humans believe in helping others no matter what. They fight, protect, and love even when it's dangerous. That's why your mom chose me." Taryn's eyes shone with understanding. She trusted you, really trusted you." "Yes," Elias said. "And I will live up to that trust. Whatever happens, I will stay with you." The day of reckoning came sooner than Elias had expected. A squad of station officers, led by an alien inspector with sharp eyes and a reputation for strict enforcement, arrived near the storage bay. Drones scanned the area, their red lights sweeping across walls and floors. Elias quickly barricaded the entrance and whispered to Taryn, "Stay quiet, follow my lead." The inspector called out, his voice echoing through the hall. "We know the child is here. Come out, human. We will not harm you if you surrender him." Elias' jaw tightened. "I cannot do that," he whispered to himself. "Not now." He turned to Terran. "I need you to trust me." Terran nodded, gripping his jacket. Together, they moved silently through a hidden maintenance passage that Elias had discovered weeks earlier. The inspector and his team searched diligently, but the human engineer's knowledge of the station allowed them to slip past unnoticed. Yet Elias knew this was only temporary. The authorities would not give up easily, and the situation would soon escalate to the station's tribunal, a panel that had the power to overrule all human claims. When the tribunal convened, the station's council chambers were filled with representatives from dozens of species. They had never faced a case like this, a human claiming guardianship over an alien child by choice, without formal approval. Whispers spread through the chamber. Some were curious, others skeptical, and a few openly hostile. Elias stood before the council, Terran at his side. The boy clutched his jacket, small and quiet, yet Elias could feel the bond between them radiating like a silent force. "I am Elias Ward," he said clearly. "I am a human. This child, Terran, chose me. His mother chose me before her death. I do not claim him for myself. I claim him because he needs protection, care, and family. That is my responsibility, and I accept it fully." The council murmured among themselves. A large insectoid representative leaned forward. "Humans are known for self-interest. Why should we trust your claim?" Elias met the representative's gaze. "Humans have history, yes, but we also have compassion. We care for others, even when there is no reward. That is why Terran's mother chose me. She saw in me what you may never understand. She trusted me to protect her son, and I will not fail her trust." Terran looked up at Elias, his large eyes wide. Will they believe you?" he whispered. "I don't know," Elias said softly. "But I will show them. We have a choice, just as your mom gave you a choice, and I choose to stand by you." The tribunal listened as Elias presented evidence of his care. Documentation of his volunteer work on the station, testimonies from humans and aliens who had witnessed his selfless acts, and accounts of his actions to save endangered individuals in past conflicts. He explained the biological and emotional necessity of a chosen guardian for Terran's species, detailing the risks of separating the child from his chosen protector. A medical specialist from Terran's species spoke next. She described the delicate balance of their biology. Without an emotionally bonded guardian, children of Terran's age could weaken rapidly, sometimes fatally. "The bond is real," she said. "It is not symbolic. It is life itself for the child." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had never considered the possibility that humans could fulfill such a critical role. Many had assumed guardianship must follow strict species rules, not choice or observation. Yet here was evidence, clear and undeniable, that a human could provide the care, protection, and emotional stability necessary. Terran, sitting quietly beside Elias, began to fidget. "Mama, she was right," he whispered. Elias nodded, squeezing the boy's hand. "Yes, she was right. And now we have to prove it to everyone else." The tribunal deliberated for hours. Elias and Terran remained side by side, waiting. The council considered precedent, biological necessity, and the strength of the bond. Some members argued that a human could not understand alien needs. Others worried about cultural implications if humans were allowed guardianship. But slowly, the evidence and testimony began to shift opinions. An elder representative, a reptilian diplomat with scales that shimmered under the chamber lights, finally spoke. "We are unprepared for this situation," he said, "but the evidence is clear. This child's life depends on his guardian, and the guardian is willing to act. We must acknowledge the choice." Elias felt a quiet relief, though he did not speak. He knew the decision was only the first step. The galaxy was watching, and they would scrutinize every action he took with Terran. Yet for now, the tribunal had recognized the bond. They had recognized the human's capacity to care in a way that transcended law, species, and expectation. When the tribunal adjourned, Taryn leaned against Elias, whispering softly, "Mama, she knew. She knew you would fight for me." Elias smiled, a mix of pride and determination settling over him. "Yes, and I will keep fighting, not just for you, but for the idea that humans can rise to meet impossible responsibilities." The days that followed were filled with preparation and cautious optimism. The station's council allowed temporary guardianship under close supervision, but Elias knew this was only the beginning. They would face challenges, other authorities, cultural prejudice, and the unknown dangers of Terran species, but he felt ready. The bond they shared was no longer just an emotional connection. It was a symbol of what humans could bring to the galaxy: care, courage, and unwavering resolve. Together, they began planning for a future beyond the station. Elias taught Terran about human ways of problem-solving, teamwork, and endurance. Terran, in turn, shared knowledge of his species, biology, culture, and instincts. Every day strengthened their connection, proving that trust and choice could overcome fear and uncertainty. One evening, as the artificial lights dimmed and the hum of the station settled into quiet, Terran looked up at Elias. Do you think humans are really different?" he asked. "Yes," Elias said without hesitation. "We are different, but different can be good. Different can be the reason someone survives. Different can be the reason someone is loved." Terran smiled faintly, the first true smile in weeks. "Then I'm glad you're my dad." Elias felt warmth fill his chest. He had never imagined being chosen in this way, but now he understood the power of choice, the responsibility of trust, and the meaning of family. The galaxy might challenge them, test them, and doubt them, but the bond between a human and a small alien boy was undeniable. It was real, unbreakable, and powerful enough to change not only their lives, but perhaps the way the galaxy viewed humanity itself. And so, Elias and Terran waited, prepared, and strengthened their bond. The tribunal had recognized them, but the galaxy was wide, and challenges awaited. Yet for the first time, Elias knew that humans had a strength that went beyond weapons, politics, or strategy. It was the quiet courage to choose to protect, love, and stand when it mattered most. In the stillness of the station, amidst the hum of machinery and the faint scent of recycled air, Elias realized that their story was only beginning. The galaxy was watching, and he would show it that humans could be more than survivors. They could be guardians, chosen and steadfast, for those who needed them most. Elias and Terran had spent weeks quietly adjusting to life under the tribunal's temporary approval. The station still buzzed with energy, and the council's decision had brought some relief, but Elias knew the galaxy could change in an instant. Every patrol, every announcement, every passing ship reminded him that they were being watched. He had to remain vigilant, for Terran, for himself, and for the fragile bond they shared. Terran, despite his youth, had grown in confidence. He no longer hid in corners or flinched at approaching voices. Instead, he learned quickly, observing drones, reading station schematics, and asking questions about human strategies for survival and protection. Each day, Elias was impressed by the boy's resilience. But he also knew the stakes. Terran species could weaken without the proper guardian bond, and while their connection was strong, it needed care, consistency, and trust. One afternoon, as Elias worked on repairing a failing power conduit in a quiet maintenance bay, a sudden alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed, and a familiar hum of security drones filled the corridors. Elias' heart sank. He knew what it meant. Someone had reported them. The council's temporary protection could only last so long, and there were those who did not agree with a human guardian. He grabbed Terran's hand, pulling him toward a series of hidden passages. "We need to move fast," he whispered. Terran followed without hesitation, trusting Elias completely. As they navigated the narrow corridors, a group of armed enforcers appeared at the next junction. They had orders to bring Taran in immediately. Elias froze for a moment, then acted. He pulled Taran behind a heavy ventilation panel and pressed the boy against the wall. The enforcers passed, scanning quickly but failing to see them. Elias exhaled quietly, heart pounding. "They are persistent," Taran said softly, his small hand gripping Elias' arm. "Yes," Elias replied. "And so are we. We won't let them take you." They reached an abandoned storage bay near the outer hull of the station, a place Elias had previously scouted for emergencies. It was dusty with old crates and forgotten tools, but it offered space to plan. Elias sat down, pulling Taran close. The boy leaned against him, exhausted but alert. "We can't stay here forever," Elias said. "We need to find a long-term solution." "Somewhere you can be safe, where the galaxy cannot reach us easily," Taran nodded. "Mama, she always said humans can face impossible things. She said you would protect me." Elias felt a swell of determination. "I will. No matter what happens, I will stay with you. We'll find a way to make this work." Over the next few days, Elias began preparing a plan. He reviewed the station schematics, identifying hidden corridors, maintenance shafts, and docking bays that were rarely used. He mapped routes for escape, but also planned contingencies if they were discovered. He realized they might need more than just stealth. They might need allies, evidence, and a way to demonstrate that their bond was real and essential. Taran, curious and perceptive, asked questions about humans and their ability to care for others. "Do humans always protect?" he asked one evening. Elias smiled softly. "Not always. But some humans believe in helping and protecting and standing up for those who cannot protect themselves. That's why your mom chose me." Taran's eyes glimmered. She really knew. She knew you would fight for me." "Yes," Elias said firmly. "And we will keep fighting together." The next challenge came unexpectedly. A senior officer from the council arrived at the station, demanding a formal inspection of Taran's living conditions and Elias' guardianship. This officer had no patience for human compassion and was known for strict adherence to tradition. Elias knew this inspection could determine whether their temporary bond would be allowed to continue, or if Taran would be taken by force. Elias and Taran prepared meticulously. Elias cleaned and organized the storage bay, ensuring that everything was in order, and he rehearsed answers to every possible question. Taran, despite his small size, listened carefully, nodding at instructions and learning how to demonstrate the bond between them. When the officer arrived, his expression was stern. "I understand you claim guardianship over this child," he said, his voice cold. "Explain why a human has the right to act as a guardian for a species that is not your own." Elias met his gaze steadily. "This is not about rights. It is about necessity. Taran's mother chose me because she understood my capacity to care and protect. This is not a symbolic bond. It is a biological and emotional requirement for him to survive. Without it, he would weaken and possibly die." The officer raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "Humans are unpredictable. Why should we trust you to maintain this bond?" Elias did not falter. "Because I have already proven it. I have protected him when others sought to harm him. I have cared for him without expectation, and I have put his life above my own. That is proof, not words." Taran, encouraged by Elias' confidence, spoke up. "Mama, she said humans can care without taking. Elias, he protects me. He is my dad." The officer's eyes narrowed. The boy's words carried a sincerity that could not be ignored. It was clear that Taran had formed a genuine bond with Elias, one based on trust, care, and choice. After hours of questioning, inspections, and deliberation, the officer concluded reluctantly. "The bond is evident. Temporary guardianship will continue under observation, but any further challenges to the child's welfare will result in immediate review." Elias exhaled quietly, relief washing over him. Taran's small hand gripped his arm, and Elias could feel the boy's quiet gratitude. They had survived the first major test, but the peace was fragile. Word of their bond spread quickly throughout the station. Some admired the humans' courage, others whispered doubts and skepticism. Elias realized that their story had become more than just survival. It was now a symbol. If humans could care for an alien child in this way, it challenged centuries of assumptions about human weakness, unpredictability, and isolation. One evening, as Elias and Taran sat together, the boy spoke softly. Do you think humans are really different?" "Yes," Elias said without hesitation. "Different in ways that matter. Different in ways that can protect and save lives. Different in ways that can change the galaxy if given the chance." Taran smiled faintly, leaning against Elias. "Then I'm glad you're my dad." Elias felt warmth fill his chest. He had never imagined being chosen in this way, but now he understood the power of trust, responsibility, and family. He realized that the galaxy might challenge them, test them, and doubt them, but the bond between a human and an alien child was undeniable. It was strong, unbreakable, and powerful enough to reshape perceptions across the stars. Days later, a sudden crisis shook the station. A group of hostile forces, remnants of a war that had displaced so many families, attempted a boarding raid. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and panic rippled through the corridors. Drones scrambled, and station personnel rushed to defend civilians. Elias knew this was their moment to prove the bond, not just to the council but to everyone observing. He scooped Taran into his arms and moved through the chaos, guiding him to safety through hidden passages and service tunnels. The boy's small body pressed against him, trusting completely. As they moved, Elias realized the full significance of the choice his mother had made. She had seen a human's courage and compassion, qualities that could save lives when machines and weapons could not. They reached a secure area, where other displaced children and families had gathered. Elias helped organize defenses, reassured frightened civilians, and coordinated with station personnel. Taran watched him wide-eyed, as he acted not out of fear or duty, but out of care and responsibility. The bond between them, formed in whispered words weeks before, now radiated outward, inspiring hope and calm in a moment of danger. When the threat passed, the station's authorities acknowledged Elias' role. He had protected Taran, guided other children to safety, and demonstrated the full depth of human courage and care. The tribunal's earlier decision was reinforced, and whispers of admiration spread across species. Humans were no longer just survivors. They were guardians, capable of acts of selfless bravery that transcended culture, law, and biology. That night, Elias and Taran sat together, exhausted but safe. "Mama, she knew," Taran whispered. "She knew humans could be strong." "Yes," Elias said softly. "She was right, and we will keep proving it." The station was quiet, the lights dimmed, and the hum of machinery filled the space around them. Yet within the stillness, Elias understood something vital. Their journey was far from over. Challenges would come, doubts would arise, and the galaxy would continue to watch. But the bond between a human and a small alien boy had proven itself in ways no tribunal, law, or expectation could ignore. Elias held Taran close, feeling the warmth, trust, and life in the small body against his chest. The galaxy might demand proof again, but he knew one truth that would never change. Humans could rise to meet impossible responsibilities. And together, he and Taran would continue to do so. One choice, one act of courage, and one moment of care at a time. In the quiet of the station, amidst the glow of emergency lights and the distant stars beyond the hull, Elias realized that their story had grown beyond survival. It had become a symbol, a testament to the power of choice, trust, and the quiet strength of humanity. And in the heart of that story, a small alien boy whispered once more, simply, bravely, "Thank you, my dad." Elias smiled, knowing the bond they had forged would continue to grow, challenge the galaxy's assumptions, and redefine what it meant to be human. The path ahead would not be easy, but with Terran at his side, Elias knew that together they could face anything. The galaxy had watched, and the story of Elias Ward and Terran had spread far beyond the station. Some saw it as remarkable proof of human courage, while others whispered doubt, unable to believe that a human could truly meet the needs of an alien child. But Elias had learned long ago that the opinions of others mattered less than the trust of the one who had chosen him. Terran had grown more confident over the weeks. The boy no longer clung nervously to Elias, though he stayed close. He had learned to navigate the station, read warning signals, and understand the rhythms of life aboard a place that had once seemed overwhelmingly hostile. Yet even as he grew stronger, the bond that had begun with a simple whispered plea, "My mom chose you, please be my dad, human," remained at the heart of their survival. One morning, as Elias was checking a series of junction boxes near the outer hull, Terran ran up to him with excitement. Dad, the council, they said we can leave the station. They recognize our bond fully." Elias' brow furrowed. "They're allowing us to leave." "After all this," Terran nodded vigorously. "Yes, they said they will provide a small ship and we can go to a place that's safe for humans and aliens. Mama, she wanted me to have a place like this, a place where I could be protected." Elias felt a strange mixture of relief and responsibility. Leaving the station meant freedom, but it also meant stepping into the unknown. The galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Even with council recognition, there would be challenges ahead. Yet he also understood that this was the moment they had been preparing for, the chance to step into a future built on trust, courage, and care. They boarded the small council-provided vessel, a simple craft designed for long-term survival and transport between outer sectors. Terran explored the interior eagerly, pressing buttons and peering at panels with curiosity. It's amazing," he whispered. Elias smiled. "It's ours to make safe. We'll learn how to use it together. That's part of being a family." As the ship launched into the void, leaving the station behind, Elias reflected on how far they had come. From the moment he had found Terran under a bench, trembling and alone, to the tribunal that had recognized their bond, they had survived fear, doubt, and the scrutiny of a galaxy unwilling to see human courage. Days passed aboard the vessel, and Elias continued teaching Terran not only survival skills, but also lessons about trust, morality, and empathy. The boy listened intently, asking questions about humans, about other species, and about the decisions that shaped the galaxy. Each conversation strengthened their bond, and each shared moment made it clear that the choice Terran's mother had made was not just valid, it was visionary. One evening, as the ship drifted near a glowing nebula, Terran spoke softly. "Dad, do you think humans are really as strong as Mama said?" Elias considered this carefully. "Humans are strong in many ways, not always in body or weapons. Sometimes strength is in caring, in standing up when it's hard, and in protecting others even when the odds are against you. That's what your mother saw in me." Terran's eyes glistened. "Then I think she was right. You really are strong." Elias felt a warmth fill him that had nothing to do with the ship's heating system. He had never expected to be chosen in such a profound way, and yet here he was, holding the trust of a small alien boy who had survived against impossible odds. That trust was not a gift, it was a responsibility, and he accepted it fully. The journey continued, and soon they reached a small, remote planet designated by the Council as a safe haven. Its surface was lush with greenery, rivers, and gentle hills, a sharp contrast to the metallic corridors and flashing lights of the station. Elias and Terran stepped onto solid ground, breathing in air that smelled fresh and alive. This is wonderful," Terran said, looking around. "Mama, she would have loved this place." Elias nodded, guiding him toward a small dwelling provided for them. It was simple, designed for comfort and security, with space for exploration and growth. He knew it would be their home for the foreseeable future, a place where Taryn could thrive without fear of being separated from the one he trusted most. Over the following weeks, Elias and Taryn worked together to settle into their new life. They tended small gardens, repaired and modified their dwelling, and explored the surrounding forests and rivers. Taryn's curiosity was insatiable, and Elias encouraged it, teaching him how to observe, analyze, and problem-solve. The boys' laughter and questions filled the air, a reminder that life could continue, even after loss and danger. Yet even in this sanctuary, Elias remained vigilant. He knew the galaxy was vast, and there were forces that might challenge their bond. But he also knew something more important. Humans had a unique resilience, a capacity for care and bravery that could withstand scrutiny, danger, and disbelief. That resilience would guide them through any challenge ahead. One day, as Taryn explored the riverbank, he stumbled upon a small, injured alien creature, a species native to the planet. Its wing was broken and it chirped weakly. Without hesitation, Taryn ran back to Elias. Dad, look, it's hurt. We have to help it." Elias knelt beside him. "You're right. Let's see what we can do." Together, they fashioned a small splint from nearby reeds and gently secured the creature's wing. Taryn watched intently, learning how care, patience, and attention could save a life. As the creature moved, struggling but alive, Taryn beamed. "See, humans can help, just like Mama said, just like you helped me." Elias smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "Yes, that's exactly what humans can do. Sometimes strength isn't about fighting. It's about caring, protecting, and standing firm when it matters most." The weeks turned into months, and Taryn grew stronger, healthier, and more confident. He learned to navigate not just the terrain, but also the small nuances of human and alien interaction. He spoke with Elias about the future, about possibilities beyond their little sanctuary. "Dad, maybe one day we can help others, just like you helped me." Elias' eyes softened. "That's the idea, Taryn. Humans can make a difference, not just for themselves, but for those who cannot protect themselves. And one day, we will show the galaxy that choosing to care, to protect, and to act with courage is the greatest strength of all." One evening, as they watched the twin suns set over the hills, Taryn rested against Elias, small hands gripping his arm. "Dad, thank you for everything. Mama, she chose you, and I'm glad she did." Elias felt a lump in his throat. "No, Taryn, thank you for trusting me. For letting me be your dad. You've given me something I never knew I needed." In that quiet moment, the galaxy's vastness seemed to shrink. No tribunal, no council, no law could diminish the bond between them. It was real, unbreakable, and powerful, proof that humans could care in ways the galaxy had underestimated. Word of their life on the remote planet eventually reached neighboring systems. Stories of a human guardian protecting an alien child spread, inspiring others and challenging long-held beliefs about humanity. Some species began to reconsider their assumptions, while humans across sectors saw a reflection of their own potential, a capacity for courage, empathy, and guardianship that transcended species. Yet Elias and Taryn remained focused on the present, on the life they were building together. They continued exploring, learning, and growing as a family. Each challenge they faced, small or large, was met with the same determination that had begun the moment Taryn whispered, "My mom chose you. Please be my dad, human." Years later, when Taryn was older and stronger, he would often sit beside Elias, looking out over the forests and rivers of their sanctuary. "Dad, do you think Mama would be proud?" Elias smiled, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "I know she would, and so am I. You've grown into someone incredible, Taryn, brave, kind, and strong, just like she hoped." Taryn leaned against him, a small smile on his face. "Then we did it together." "Yes," Elias said, "together, that's what family is." Not just choice, not just trust, but standing together no matter what the galaxy throws at you. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with gold and crimson. In that light, father and son stood together, a testament to the power of choice, trust, and human courage. The galaxy might continue to test them, but they had already proven one truth. Humans were capable of extraordinary care, strength, and guardianship. And in the heart of that quiet sanctuary, far from the chaos of stations and councils, Elias Ward and Taryn looked at each other and knew that no law, no prejudice, and no challenge could ever break the bond forged in trust, choice, and unwavering courage. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of something remarkable, not just a human protecting an alien child, but the embodiment of humanity's finest qualities: bravery, compassion, and the quiet strength to stand for what is right, even when the odds are impossible. And together, Elias and Taryn faced the future, ready for whatever might come, knowing that they were chosen, bonded, and unbreakable.